I was on a dating app recently, and this girl asked me if I like stand-up comedy. I said yes, I like stand-up comedy, and it reminded me of the one stand-up show I'd ever been to in my life. It was a great night. I had a lot of fun, but it would become one of the worst nights of my life. I was in the Navy at the time. I had just finished school, the U.S. Naval Academy. Graduated. I had a few days before I had to head out to my training school, which was in Coronado, California. So the Naval Academy's in Maryland, so I was living in Maryland, and basically just had leave for several days. Didn't really have anything to do other than check in. So I thought I'd go up to New York, visit my old stomping grounds, kind of say goodbye to the East Coast. Didn't know if I would be back again or when that would be. So I went up to New York. I had a friend who worked there, a kid I went to high school with, graduated several years ahead of me. I didn't stay in touch with him or anything. I didn't stay in touch with anyone from high school, actually. But I knew where he worked. He got a really good job out of high school. He was really smart, kind of a math genius, and he got a really good job in New York City. So I went up there and didn't have his phone number. I wasn't even sure if he was still working there, but I thought I'd go to his job and see if he was there. Maybe I could take the guy out to lunch, or we could reminisce or whatever. I mean, it had been years, since I had seen anyone from high school. So I went to his job. The guy called up and he said, "Yeah, my friend's there. He's going to come down and see you." And he comes down out of the elevator. He's like, "Nico, what's up, man?" It had been so long, and I said, "Hey, can you get out? You have a lunch hour or something?" He's like, "Yeah, let's go." So he grabbed his jacket and we went out to lunch. So it's like an hour and a half. We went down to this joint on the street and ate and reminisced a little. Talked about things, caught up. Found out about his job and where he was actually living. He's living up in Connecticut with his grandmother, then taking the subway to New York, which is what a lot of people do. Most people don't own cars that live in New York. So it was really cool. He was like, "Hey, let's, do you want to hang out tonight and do something?" I was like, yeah. He's like, "I'm going to go to this comedy show down the street, Gotham Comedy Live. It's this kind of hole in the wall comedy club. They have decent food, cheap beer. Let's go meet up." I said, "Sweet, let's meet up." So I go meet him at this comedy club, and it's kind of this kind of rundown, little basement comedy club. There's a lot of startup comedians, guys who are just trying to get going, and that's such a tough field to get going in. But some of the people there, you see them, and then years later they become famous. Tom Segura performed there, Nate Bargatze. Those guys are kind of big now. Eliza Schlesinger, I think her name is. She was there like 3 days a week for like a year, and I think she's a big time comedian now. So people who become big, they all got to start somewhere. This is one of those clubs where they start. Usually New York and Vegas and LA. Those are the big venues for comedy. So we just shot the bull, drank, ate, and reminisced. Talked about high school, and he stayed in touch with a lot of people. So he knew the people who had good careers, moved away, the people who stayed there and were cutting lawns for a living or whatever. What girls put on 200 pounds and had 25 children. You know how it goes after high school. I mean, some people, they go off and do great things, and other people not so much. So it was a really good time, and it was exactly what I wanted and what I needed before I headed out into my new life, as an officer in the military. And it was such a good time. It was also it was the last time I'd ever see my friend. He was killed the next day. That night we went to that comedy show was September 10th, 2001. And the next day, 3 men threw an airplane into my friend's office, killing him and all his coworkers. The whole company, they were all dead. My friend worked in Tower 2 of the World Trade Center. It's weird how years go by and some simple question, just a question from some stranger on a dating app, just triggers a memory. It's so old. Has that ever happened to you? Do you ever have some memory pop in your head from long, long ago? Something you haven't thought of in years. All of a sudden, it's right there in the front of your memory. Chris, after all these years, I'm still thinking about you, buddy. I wish you were still here.